Welcome back, everyone, to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. I'm your host, as always, LitecoinLeader. Today is a very good day. It's the first real video I've made. I made some videos on the weekend, sure, but it's the first video I'm making of the new year. And it's a very good time to talk about one of my favorite coins and projects that I've been watching for several years, Veritaseum. Now, Veritaseum, if you haven't heard about it lately, or if you don't know what the project is, I'm going to link several videos up here that I've done in the past. Hopefully, it'll be a playlist for you. But I've reviewed Veritaseum. I had it part of my altcoinopoly game last year, but I've recently mentioned it many times because there's been breaking news, and I wanted to share some of the things that's just a little bit of news, just in case you missed it. But then I want to delve into how do we evaluate the value of the VERI token? That's what everyone's wondering about. There's a VERI token that's still out there that even though Reggie's gotten his patent, Reggie Middleton is the founder of Veritaseum, in case you don't know. But even though you should follow him on Twitter too. It's a great follow. But Reggie got the patent, but what does it mean for the VERI token? Well, I'm going to attempt to try and value or evaluate what Veritaseum can or should be valued at going forward, or even further and beyond. So it's just one guy's attempt to do some math on the internet. Hopefully it goes well. Let's see how it goes. But let me start by sharing my screen. And I'm going to go over some recent news. Okay, we've got that done. So the first article I'm sharing today is from Zero Hedge. Reggie actually wrote it himself right after the patent was released and notified that Reggie learned that the U.S. Patent Office had finally granted him the patent he'd been pursuing for about 7 years. He finally got it from the Patent Office, and he called it the Aboriginal DeFi patent. But it's basically because what they granted was Veritaseum was the founding organization that defined DeFi. Reggie invented DeFi. That's what basically the patent says. So, assuming that is the basis for all comparison, and it's in the nature of I won't go into the details, but basically, let's make the assumption that Reggie owns the IP behind all of DeFi. What does that mean for crypto, and what does it mean for the VERI token, and what does it mean beyond crypto and the rest of the financial world? That's what I'm going to attempt to talk about, because what I was doing over the break was I was catching up on several videos, including this one from Bankless. And Bankless had a guest on from Masari, and they had a great report, very long report. I went and got it, actually, where they started to talk about how you could make a virtual quarterly report for Ethereum. This is kind of like the quarterly reports that publicly traded companies and the SEC have to give out every 3 months to show what their financials are doing. And basically, it's a pro forma, it's a performance review. There's lots of names for these filings, but every quarter the companies have to give out quarterly earnings reports. And in here, it's a little hard to read, so I'm going to open up my version of it. So here we go. We finally got to the page. It's the Ethereum quarterly earnings report, and you can see, let me scroll just a little bit more. All right. So if you look at the Q3 21 numbers, that's the third quarter of 2021. You can see that the DeFi, the DEX volume on Ethereum, was $189 billion. That's the first number I'm going to use to evaluate Veritaseum. Now I wanted to think about this further, and I said, well, what about the rest of the financial world, the fintech, the banks? So I went and did a little bit digging, and I found a couple of stories that could help me in this regard to try and value something. First off, I found this article from Bloomberg that says JP Morgan launched a repo blockchain network back in June. They've been using it for a while. It's a copy of the Ethereum platform. That's in here. So there we go. That's JP Morgan created a new repo market using its version of the Ethereum blockchain, which they call the Onyx blockchain platform. And I think, let's see, there's a transactions in the repo market are 2.4 trillion overnight. But this blockchain is already doing, more than $1 billion a day is traded through the Onyx platform. And just as a secondary article, JP Morgan, they were testing this blockchain a while back, and this is more about the Onyx blockchain. JP Morgan's blockchain business, Onyx. So they own this blockchain. So that $1 billion a day is something I'm going to use as well. The third thing I'm going to use, which is another article about a company called CLS. Now, CLS is working with JP Morgan, Bank of America, lots of others to explore FX, Forex trading, peer-to-peer settlement. So what they're doing here is they are, the central CLS is piloting its foreign exchange solution CLS Net with 12 global banks. First launched in 2018. It is foreign exchange transactions in 120 lesser used currencies. It's not distributed ledger technology, DLT, but it is a blockchain. So I think, in my opinion, again, just my opinion, this is probably subject to the patent. So the centralized settlement, the highlighted takeaway is the centralized CLS settlement platform processes more than $5 trillion in daily trades. Sorry for the noises for leaving me my Slack open, but hey, there we go. So the 5 trillion is going to be the third number that I use. So now I'm going to switch over to a presentation mode so I can go over the numbers and try to give you some valuation of where I'm at on how we can try to quantify how much a VERI token is worth. So now that I have all the news information, I'm going to gather all this information up and try to figure out a valuation that's reasonable for the Veritaseum token. So time to share my screen once again and share my math and my work, show my work, of course. And here we go. Okay, so here's the presentation. From the earlier articles, I only have a few slides, so I'm going to try to go through them reasonably quickly to get to conclusions. So from the earlier articles, we talked about Ethereum had $189 billion in Q3 in DeFi settlements. JP Morgan is doing $1 billion a day through Onyx, and then CLS is doing $5 trillion in daily trades. So taking those three numbers and translating those, we list them right here. We got the revenue as far in their time frame of various times throughout 2021, and then using a number that I've got was a reliable source from the Veritaseum Telegram group, from someone who's an admin there. He's talked to Reggie, and he said that the IP licensing number that's under consideration, it's pretty, it's in the right range, is 0.075%. That is 3/4,000ths. That is less than 1/1000th of the revenue. So you can basically just move the decimal place, and so billion becomes million, and it's a little bit less. So Ethereum is going to be less than 189 billion, turns out to be 141 million per quarter. Onyx is about half that size. CLS is the big boy in the house, and that is $3.75 billion per day. So for relative scale, using Ethereum as a 1, Onyx again is about half. CLS is 26 times larger than Ethereum on a quarterly basis just in one day. So to go further, I'm assuming that CLS, I mean, a couple assumptions through here. I'm listing all my assumptions. So one of my first assumptions is that CLS is going to have about 50% of their transactions done next year, and it's about 90 days per quarter. So using that math, I get about $168 billion per quarter, or almost 1,200 times larger than Ethereum on a quarterly basis. So you can see why in the world of fintech, going after entities like CLS are much bigger fish to go fry than Ethereum. So now we're going to continue the evaluation of the VERI token. So now we start with CLS again, using the same IP licensing of 168 billion per quarter. Annual numbers, you work at the $675 billion a year. Now, two more assumptions. I'm going to try to be conservative with these numbers as we're trying to get a baseline of what the valuation of Veritaseum can be. I'm going to say that Veritaseum tokens are going to provide a 25% discount on the IP. I don't know if it's going to be 10. I don't know if it's going to be 50. I just picked the number and I ran with it. It's going to be in that range. It's going to get me pretty much in the ballpark. But remember, I'm only using one entity, that's CLS. So 25% IP license discount. Let's calculate that out. So VERI potential value is 25% of the 675 billion. Divided by the 2.15 million tokens that are out there. So from CLS alone, if CLS had them, they would be worth 78.5K per VERI token for however many they needed. So let's just say they needed to buy them all. They would be willing to pay $78,500 per VERI token. So they would get that discount off of that hefty IP price tag for the 12 months. So that's the second assumption. Let's say CLS is willing to pay 75% of that license to discount the VERI of that discount to VERI holders to rent the token for that 12-month period. So in other words, if I have a VERI token, and truth be told, I have VERI tokens, so just full disclosure, I do have VERI tokens. Let's say I wanted to rent my VERI token to CLS. They said I know that it's worth $78,000 to them, but maybe I accept 75% of it. So figuring that out, CLS will be willing to pay $58,000 for a 12-month rental for almost $60,000, because that gets them the discount. So but again, I'm just doing some math off the top of my head, off the back of an envelope, just doing a little bit of spreadsheet stuff and just seeing what they'd be willing to pay. So because they're saving by paying 60, they're saving that extra 15 to 20K. They might pay less They might need more. The discount might be larger, but I'm in the ballpark. So the first valuation method of Veritaseum puts me about $60,000 per token. Now let's go over to a more traditional way of evaluating the Veritaseum token, which is market cap and a few other comparisons, such as the all-time high. So the Veritaseum all-time high happened almost 4 years ago to today, which is $465. So is that the number? Are we only 3 times away, roughly, because we're about 150, 160 bucks today. Last I checked, I haven't looked today, but Veritaseum is about 150 to 170 bucks last I looked. So about 3x away from hitting that number in US dollars. But is that the right number target to really look at? Because it's been 4 years. So and also the market cap was based on 100 million Veritaseum tokens. So that market cap at the all-time high was $465 times 100 million, which is $46.5 billion. So if I take the same market cap and divide it by the 2.15 tokens that exist, the all-time high in terms of market cap would not occur until I had at least $21,000 per token. Similar to what I said earlier, I mean, we're looking at different numbers. We're looking at thousands of dollars for these tokens. So in January 2018, let's look at comparing the Bitcoin and Ethereum, the top 2 coins that are out there. And these are the real basis for comparison of all cryptocurrency. The top cryptocurrency is Bitcoin. The top altcoin is Ethereum. And if you're not buying one of those 2, you're trying to beat them. So you need to put everything in relative numbers to Bitcoin and Ethereum. So looking at these numbers, doing similar math to reach the market cap against Bitcoin, you have to do the same math, 0.0306 Bitcoin, and then do the ratio of the number of tokens that are out there. You're looking at 1.42 Bitcoin per VERI token will be a comparable market cap, which that's a big number. That's a big number. So that's it's very interesting to see it expressed that way. So hi, Cliff. I know you talked about how Veritaseum could be comparable to Bitcoin, and since I've done several of these takes, I just want to make sure that people I've went through all the different altar reports that Cliff has published. I've watched a lot of Cliff. I cannot for the life of me find the exact time. It wasn't in the altar report. Haven't found the time when he said that Veritaseum would be on par with Bitcoin's value. If you know where he said that, or can send me a link, please do. Please put in the comments. Drop me a line at LitecoinLeader.com. Find me on Telegram at LitecoinLeader. Let me know where it is. I would very much like to know where that is. But in any event, we all know that Cliff said it. So here's a path to show that VERI could be worth 1.4 Bitcoin, just based on the all-time high of where we are, because there's fewer tokens now. And Reggie's even said that he can not honor the SEC's 98 million coins that they hold. So it's the market cap is now based only on 2.1 million tokens. So to finish the thought here, again with Ethereum, okay, at current price of Bitcoin, VERI should be about $67,000 based on the price of Bitcoin being about $47,000 times 1.42. Similar calculation for Ethereum. Again, 0.368 was the all-time high. Doing the ratio, you're looking at 17 Ethereum per VERI token for being on par value. That translates to be with a roughly a $3,800 Ethereum price. Roughly, that's what it is today. You're looking at about $65,000 per token. So here's a summary based on where we're at with everything. First off, the CLS method. And we've got the annual IP licensing for CLS only, and that's $58.8 thousand, almost 60 grand. And again, these are where the assumptions need to be listed one more time. I'm assuming half the transactions on the blockchain, no growth, 25% discount for using the IP, and VERI tokens are right about for 25% of the discount, CLS. Again, these are all assumptions to get me in the ballpark. And again, the number one thing here to take away, this is CLS only. There's going to be more entities that are out there that are subject to this patent, but CLS alone should be looking at, making this worth over $50,000 as a token. Second method, against the all-time high in Bitcoin with fewer tokens, should be about 67,000. Similar answer for Ethereum, 65,000. So overall, I'm looking at the $58,000 to $67,000 is the right answer for Veritaseum token. So that's a lot of math. That's a lot of numbers. That's a lot of assumptions. So with all that said, what do you guys think? What do you think of those numbers? Did I come close to what you were expecting? It certainly gets close to what Cliff I was saying. And this is based on what I currently know and just a few assumptions that I made. And all my assumptions I thought were they were very realistic and minimalistic so as to not overstate the value. I didn't show any growth in decentralized finance, and we all know that's going to grow exponentially again in 2022. More and more entities beyond CLS and are going to be out there that are going to be subject to this patent. And then finally, the all-time high kind of screams at it because it should be 50 times higher because there's like 2% of the coins only are available now. We've dropped the available coins. We've essentially burned 98 million coins. So it's not because Reggie said so. And that's what he's going to do. So he's only going to honor the 2.15 million tokens that are out there. He's even said there's probably some of them have been lost. So call it 2 million as a ballpark. So that's 50 times the all-time high of like $465. So that's like 23,000, and that's your baseline. So I think the asymmetry of the marketplace, the upside versus the downside, the risk, this is more of a perceived risk than actually the risk. It's actually less risky than it was back in 2018 because it's gone through the whole issue with SEC. The patents are now existing, so they have more IP. They have more backing to enforce that the fact that Reggie does own DeFi and he can go and talk to other fintech companies and say, hey, you've been infringing for years and going forward, you're going to owe me a licensing fee at a minimum. And here's how you're going to do it. And you can get a discount if you buy Veritaseum tokens, buy VERI tokens from these nice people who supported me over the years. So lots said. Please leave a comment down below. Please share this video. Please like and subscribe. I'm almost at 1,000 people. I'm looking to grow this channel, trying to provide good, meaningful content for a lot of people. I think Veritaseum, this is going to be probably the biggest story of 2022. I really do believe that. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below. Hashtag VERI. See what you guys think. So I've said a lot today. What do you guys think about the valuation? I would love to hear from you guys either on Telegram or in the comments below, but definitely get this video out there because I don't think there's enough talk about Veritaseum, and it needs to be out there in not just the crypto world, but all fintech out there. So lots said today. I'm going to close the drawer on the bureau for now and say one more time to follow the leader, and I'll see you next time. Take care.